I thought you knew where we were going.
Hang on one second. Let me get the GPS up on my phone right here.
I thought all Lexus owners knew where Starbucks was.
Yeah. No, I know. I just wish I had CarPlay. Odds are, if you have driven a car with either CarPlay or Android Auto, something you really enjoy, and as soon as you get in a car without it, you miss it. I'm in that position currently. I recently sold my Fiesta ST that had CarPlay in it, and now I want it back. There are quite a few options to add CarPlay to your vehicle. I have done quite a bit of research specifically on the Lexus GX470 platform, so let's dive into the different options. So before we unbox and dive into the ATOTO P8, let's discuss the other options for the Lexus GX470. The options that I'm going to talk about are very specific to the Lexus. However, the general principles and similar options will apply to other vehicles that were not equipped with CarPlay from the factory. So let's talk about option number one. That would be adding a kind of more typical aftermarket head unit to your vehicle. As you can tell, I have the navigation. That was an option for the GX470, and that makes that a whole lot more difficult because your climate controls are tied into your navigation screen, so you can't just pull this out and throw a new aftermarket head unit in. There are some options that replace everything, so both your tape deck and audio controls and your climate. However, those are a little bit pricey. They can be up to about $700, and it scares me a little bit to have my climate controls being powered by something that is an aftermarket piece of equipment. I have heard those can be a little bit unreliable, and it really scares me to have my AC and everything tied into that. I'd hate to lose that just because I have a touchscreen malfunction. The other option is having a non-nav GX is the easiest way to do it, or if you have a navigation equipped GX, then you can find those non-nav parts and swap them in. That way you can put your aftermarket head unit in that is CarPlay compatible. That is a whole lot easier said than done. The non-nav components are very hard to find and expensive because you can so easily just put in an aftermarket head unit that accepts CarPlay or Android Auto. The aftermarket head units that are fairly high quality and have decent touchscreens and CarPlay compatibility and all that typically range in the realm of $200 to $500, but that is not including the OEM parts that you would need to allow your navigation equipped GX to receive that head unit. So the other option to upgrade your Lexus GX470 to CarPlay is utilizing the factory navigation screen that comes with it. This option is called the Grom V-Line, and it is essentially an aftermarket harness that taps into your factory one that displays CarPlay or Android Auto on that factory touchscreen. It's pretty cool, the fact that you can have that seamless integration. However, it does come at a pretty substantial cost. It starts at $500. On top of that, the Lexus GX470 received a touchscreen update, and I believe it was 2006. And I've read that if you have a Lexus a little bit older than that, so from 03 to 05, there's a lot of latency whenever you're operating the touchscreen, and the image quality is pretty poor. So CarPlay doesn't look very good, and it's not the easiest to use. So now that we've covered the other options, let's talk about the ATOTO P8 a little bit more in depth. Now, credit where it's due, I actually saw a page on Instagram, Rocky Trail Roamers. They have this touchscreen in their GX470, and they've been using it for a little while. I reached out to them, they gave me their feedback on it and showed me how they had it installed, and that prompted me to reach out to ATOTO. ATOTO was willing to send me one to review, and now we're gonna do just that. Let's get into it. So if you are watching this video, I'm sure that cost is very important to you, and the ATOTO P8, this option at least, comes in at only $180. Have a box inside of a box. So here you have it. Here is the P8, as you can tell. In the picture, it is mounted on the dash. That's probably what I'm going to do today. let's see what we got. So everything you get in the box I have laid out in front of me. Of course, you have your P8 screen, you have some really tiny zip ties and some cable management little clips, which is great. You have your 17mm ball adapter for the rear of the touchscreen. You also have your mounting arm, and I would assume that this is a little plate so that if you don't have a perfectly flat dash, you can stick this to your dash and then stick the mounting arm to this, so it's got a nice flat surface to suction to. And then you have your wires over here, you have your power cable, and then if you have a aux input, you can use this to plug into the P8 as well. And then this is the last thing over here. I think this guy is really funny. This is your remote control. So this is designed to go either on your steering wheel, or you can actually remove it from this little strap mount, and you can just mount this wherever on your car. And this just allows you to essentially control your phone remote. So you can skip songs, pick up calls, decline calls, adjust volume, all from this little guy here. So a few notable features of the P8 before we get started with install that I wanted to make sure I covered. The touchscreen for the P8 is a QLED screen, and it is auto dimming. Now that is something that I really wanted to have with the solution that I went for, simply because if you don't have it at nighttime, it can be really bright in the interior of your car and it's just really hard on your eyes. I also wanted a very high quality touchscreen. There's a lot of options for like secondary CarPlay screens like on Amazon, and none of them were very well reviewed. When I came across this one, it's probably the best reviewed one that I found, and I had actually heard of ATOTO before. A lot of the other CarPlay touchscreens that I came across, I'd never heard of the brand, and it was really hard for me to trust that. Now we're going to do the setup of the ATOTO. I know it's a little bit of an awkward angle, but I wanted to be able to show you everything going on down here. I got a little bit ahead of myself and got the arm suction mounted to the windshield already. I decided to do the windshield because it's a little bit better of a mounting surface, and I didn't want to stick anything to the dashboard just yet. I want to make sure this is the right solution for me. But yeah, let's get into it. So I'm going to start by plugging in the power cable here to the 12 volt. And they give you a lot of cable. And then next we will get the ATOTO. So I noticed this earlier. This is your backing plate with the 17mm ball receiver on here. So when you're attaching it, you want to make sure that the arrow on the receiver, I'm not sure if you can see that, and the arrow on the actual screen need to be facing different directions in order for it to snap in. Just like that, you're good. And then just unscrew that guy there. Throw this over top of here. Push it on and then screw it nice and tight once you get it where you want. All right, there we go. That location to me seemed really straightforward. It's right in the line of sight, right above everything else going on here, so I'm pretty happy with that. Then we just take our cable here and connect it. Alrighty, there we go. And then the only other step is to connect your aux cable here. So like I said before, the ATOTO actually can play from its own speaker or connect to your radio, but I am lucky enough to have the aux input in my GX, so that means I'm probably going to get the best audio quality possible from the ATOTO. Lastly, have our little remote that we're going to get set up and strapped to the steering wheel, so we'll get that attached over here. All right, that was what, about a minute and a half of install time. Yeah, we're already done. So I have a few little things I'm going to do as far as cable management, so I'm going to get that knocked out really quick. I will say the adhesive on here is not the best on these little cable tie holders. I think I'm probably just gonna do 2 of those for the time being, just to keep it a little bit tidy up against the dash there, and then use one of these zip ties over here just to deal with all of this extra cable. That is a little bit unwieldy with how much cable they give you there. I think I may sort that out a little bit later. All right, I don't know if it's just because my car has been sitting outside a good amount today and it's just been pretty hot in here, but this adhesive from these cable ties does not want to stick to the plastic of my dash. But there you go, let's get it turned on and see what we got. All right, now that the ATOTO has power, this is your home screen. On this screen, there's just a few things I want to talk about. You have your audio input, so if you have no audio input selected, it will actually just play out of some speakers it has on the back here. There is an option for your FM transmitter and an option for your auxiliary input, which is of course what I have. The only other thing on here that I've messed with is your brightness. The A, I believe, is the auto brightness, but you can adjust that here if you want to manually. But so far I've noticed with the little light sensor on the back, it's been really solid. I've been really happy with it. And then if you want to go to your CarPlay screen, just select that there, and this is probably a screen, if you've had CarPlay, that you are very familiar with. Touchscreen quality wise, first impressions, it's pretty crisp, pretty easy to look at. It's got kind of a matte finish to the touchscreen. I don't know if that's the correct way to describe it, but it looks like it's going to be very fingerprint resistant, and there's not a lot of glare that I've encountered so far, which has been really nice. So I'll have more impressions on overall usability in another video, but so far I am really impressed, quite honestly. The size of it is just large enough to where I can clearly see it, but not so large that it's impeding too much of my view. It's actually very similar in size to the touchscreen that the GX already has. And yeah, quality wise, it's just really nice to have CarPlay in my car again. All right, we covered some of the various options and choices that you have when it comes to adding CarPlay or Android Auto to your vehicle. And I showed you a brief install of the ATOTO P8 in my GX470. And I had some of my initial thoughts on it. So far it seems promising, but I'll have a more long-term review video up in the next couple months of what it's like actually living with it. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them down below. I'm really curious if any of you have done a alternative CarPlay solution for your vehicle and how it's worked out. The GX470, I know there's some other options that I'm still weighing, and I'd love for any GX470 owners to chime in down below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe. I know everybody asks you to do that, but it costs you nothing, and it definitely helps us grow the channel and helps us bring you content. So we'd really appreciate it, especially if you made it this far in the video. Let me know what you think I should do to the GX470 next, and we'll see you on the next one.
Okay, 7 Brew's better anyways.
And there we are.
Thank you so much.